Welcome back to our channel. We are Cryptofocus and we're live on the floor, RAI, Amsterdam, Money 2020. And let's be honest, the name says Cryptofocus, but we have focused on absolutely everything from AI to agentic AI to Web3, Web2, traditional finance, CFI, DeFi, everybody. 300 plus vendors in one location. And let's be honest, you need to be able to keep up with the trends, and that's what Money 2020 does. But once in a while you come across, and I'm not gonna call her a KOL, she's not a KOL. I would say she sits above the KOLs because the KOLs go to her asking her for advice. Look at her face. She's like, oh my God, so much pressure. But Laura Peijs is here with us, and it was difficult for us to even put a title to this video because if you want to talk about the Crypto Women Collective, Laura. If you want to talk about Treasury, Laura. If you want an update for the market, Laura. There's so much you could go to her for, so let's jump in. You know what to do. Share this video, like this video, comment on this video so we can keep making this content. Let me start by saying, is it still morning? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
You were on a train this morning.
Last night, yes.
Last night, coming
from
back from Paris,
yep.
proof of talk. But before we go to proof of talk, let's start with Treasury.
Yeah.
And Treasury, I would always call is the foundation of Laura. And then from there, you kind of move forward. So in our pre-talk, you were telling me, hey, we are working on new projects, there's new things coming. So let's start there.
Yeah, so Treasury started last September, so I joined the organization in August, and there's been so many changes both in the market, which also means that we've really had to solidify our approach as a business and also look at different avenues to sustain the business model, especially also bringing a new model into the market like a Treasury. What was actually really interesting from Proof of Talk, we did a survey with our audience, and people are really now starting to see as well the Bitcoin Treasury model as for its longevity and adoption. So things are still in its early phases at Treasury, but there's definitely a lot of appetite there in the market, especially in Europe. So we're very much leaning into that the coming few months.
Now, whenever you say adoption, your model needs to foster adoption.
Yeah.
Why is that important to Treasury?
I think, well, the founder can talk a little bit more about this, King, later on, but what I think is really important is that a Bitcoin Treasury is there to serve a purpose and also to contribute to adoption. And I think that's also one of the reasons why I joined. I really found it interesting to do something and work with someone who looked at the market differently than just trying to generate revenue and profits. So that's also one of the reasons I joined and decided to become part of Treasury. I think also what we've seen as well is the model was very retail focused last year, and that also meant that some of them are now trading down. But I think what was really interesting, what I found both as a challenge and an opportunity, is the institutional lens. So I also have come in my other roles from crypto and see that organizations or crypto organizations talk a lot about combining and being at the intersection with traditional finance, but they have to meet in the middle, and that's really what truly unlocks adoption. And then that happens, crypto won't become mainstream and no one will be able to really, individuals and companies benefit from its true potential.
Now, when you walk into Money 2020, the first thing you see is the intersection of TradFi and DeFi.
Yeah.
Agentic AI, stable coins. The focus is moving towards digital money. And this is our second year here. But if you go back 5 years ago, our brand wouldn't have even gotten through the door.
Yeah, agree.
Fast forward now, you're talking about Bitcoin Treasuries on the floor at Money 2020. Where do you see yourself going after this?
So I think it's interesting, as to your point, it is now that more mainstream events and more mainstream traditional events, digital events, are seeing more space for crypto. I think one of the focuses we look at as well from a marketing strategy and my role at Treasury is engaging with really the traditional lens. So, going to the Bloomberg events, going to the JP Morgan events, speaking to them about Bitcoin Treasuries, it as a reserve asset, the model, and how it can contribute to the market. So we are focused as well on the digital events as well as the crypto events. Obviously, as you know, we own Bitcoin Amsterdam as Treasury. Yeah. But I really see the potential in opening up and speaking to more traditional audiences, traditional in the sense of finance, because that's really where you can win the most. If you can get those inside and educate those, then you're going to make real strides. And that also is a little bit, and we could talk about later why also the Crypto Women Collective came about, is, finding audiences that are yet to be addressed or untapped is really where I think the biggest potential is.
Now, from a, let's say a marketing perspective, you are a marketing person. How do you approach leading and pushing adoption on a market that is not really interested? Because the European market, in Dutch, we use the word nuchter.
Yeah.
They're investors in what they can see and touch and know that, hey, if I look at it, it's the same. So when you're dealing with a market like Europe,
Yeah.
how do you maintain credibility and also relevance?
Yes, I think that's really interesting because especially when you look at Bitcoin, specifically Bitcoin treasuries, there is such a different investor base in, for example, Asia when it comes to the investors of MetaPlanet and how they're communicated with and engaged with, and then also in America where it's more embedded as well as a model. I think my ambition with Treasury is to create a real kind of brand attribution with consumers as well, and almost have like that sort of B2C brand, and that sort of feeling that you have when you are engaging with a B2C brand. I think that that's something new. It's definitely a challenge. It has not been done before in the space. But I think that that's something that could really stand out as well for new investors. So engaging all, not just those who are at a sort of traditional investment age, but also really engaging with people who are starting their journey. And that also in terms of education again, right? So it's sort of the buzzword of the strategy in a treasury, but at the same time, it's without explaining it, without taking people along, without being out there and engaging and selling your story and telling why that this makes sense at the events through content, etc. That's the big win if you can continue that as well as part of when you're bringing a new model to market.
That's amazing. As you were creating the narrative for Treasury, you kind of side branched and you went into the whole women aspect as well of it. And then the name, very aptly named, Crypto Woman Collective.
Yeah.
What led to you thinking and requiring to actually establish the Crypto Woman Collective and say, hey, let's bring women together?
Yeah.
What happened? What was the thought process?
Yeah, so I think it started when I worked at my previous company in trading. I'll give you a little anecdote. Is I did all my interviews during COVID, and I hadn't actually been on the floor in the trading organization until on my first day. And I was quite shocked and quite taken aback by the fact that there were no, how I saw counterparts or peers. And that really sort of took me a while to get used to. And then being able also at Bitcoin Amsterdam to see the disparity in the sort of minimal representation. Now I also have in King a huge supporter as well, and being able to do something on the side of Treasury that obviously he also supported and enabled and a huge ambassador of. So I also have the right network around me to be able to do this. But yeah, so I started Crypto Women Collective with Lisanne, my co-founder, and it just really came about as seeing an opportunity. We were so overwhelmed by the response when we hosted our event at Bitcoin Amsterdam that we thought, hey, there's something here. And I also see as well as, women want to be connected. It doesn't mean that we won't come to other events or that it's about exclusivity, but I do think that, having peers in the space, being able to look up to people, being able to learn from people is how you are able to also bring more people into the space. And before I joined the trading organization, I also hadn't worked in crypto before. So I also see there's a lot of cross-disciplinary skills that aren't being utilized. And if crypto does want to be mainstream, you are going to have to bring that talent into these organizations. It is the fastest growing talent area. I think even the World Economic Forum had a piece on it in January. But there's only so many, people who are currently in crypto. We do need to have new blood. We do need to have fresh perspectives. And I just thought it was a huge opportunity to be able to put something together. And I'm extremely proud of the response it's got and the community that we're building.
And as you guys are growing, and it's evident you're growing, you have a partnership with BCNL, you're heading to the Dutch Blockchain Week, you are adding new members and key members, people who actually have real backgrounds. How do you see this developing? Because obviously when you start, you have a roadmap in your head.
Yeah.
How's the roadmap going? Let's ask that first.
So I think, it very accelerated. So we have a number of different strands. So one is for the more established crypto expert slash builder, someone who's already in the space. We also really have a strong pipeline when it comes to education for the explorers. So really making it more accessible and providing optionality and information to women who want to invest in the space or who would like to at least make sure that they know what the space is all about before making that decision. And then we also have a number of development events as well and content. So I really see this as like the first stepping stone. I was also really inspired by my trip recently to Paris at Proof of Talk. I can really see this also becoming more of like a platform and an approach in terms of content, sharing, expertise, and connecting up different organizations. So that's a really kind of big part of the next push. We have already kind of 500 subscribers as well as 150 plus members. So it's really sort of building, and both those members are women, but also actually supporters as well, and men. So everyone is welcome. It's not about specifically creating a sort of an unaccessible community. But we just want to make sure that if women do want to come along, that they're welcome, that they have the resources, that they have the information and contacts to be able to make future decisions, both in terms of investing but also career.
In case you were wondering, we also support Crypto Women Collective. Our riders write constantly about what you guys are doing to keep it moving. From that perspective, what's the mission? What's the vision for Crypto Women Collective? Specifically the mission.
Yeah.
What is the mission in one line?
So I think the mission really is to be able to support women in and around crypto, also outside of crypto, being able to give them a space and a community and a platform to learn, connect, and discover what this asset class is all about.
Wonderful. I could not have said it better. So you walk into Money20, you basically just came from Proof of Talk, and what are the similarities? Because Proof of Talk is a crypto event.
Yeah.
Money20 is a traditional finance event trying to masquerade itself as everything in one place. What's the feeling like?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an energy here. There was also a Proof of Talk. I mean, it's really also impressive to see all of the different companies come together and all the tier one organizations. There are, in terms of similarities, I think the overarching narrative, people are seeming to, even if it comes from a different place of departure, are seeming to come on the same place. In terms of kind of adoption, institutional engagement, the crossover, the intersection, I think that's always now become a really big red thread. And you also saw that in the speakers that they had at Proof of Talk, as well as the speakers here at Money20. And then I think in terms of differences, there is always still a little bit more of an institutional element at Proof of Talk, so it's not a really sort of hardcore crypto event. And it's much more about debating and the conversations, which I also really enjoy being part of, and I think are the tougher sort of dynamics that we need to address. So we actually hosted at Treasury, it was called The Trial, so the 10 most polarizing questions of a Bitcoin treasury. And that was also a different take as well on content, which I think is slightly more adaptive than at Money20, but both are absolutely fantastic events. And I'm only getting ideas for Bitcoin Amsterdam and how we can continue building that. So it's really exciting to have been at both this week.
If you've noticed, I've not even touched on Bitcoin Amsterdam, and I'm not going to. I'm going to leave that for the next interview, because that's going to be an interview on its own. So as we wrap up, you, yourself, Crypto Women Collective, Treasury, what's next?
I think for Treasury, so the focus is on scaling and education, especially for my seat. So engaging with the broader set of stakeholders in getting the message out there, the narrative, why Bitcoin Treasury makes sense, why Bitcoin makes sense. And that will be a focus for the next coming months. Crypto Women Collective is about scaling, building. So if there's any of your listeners who want to join, you can join via cryptowomencollective.com. We're obviously extremely grateful, for your support as well, getting our message out there. So that's really the big focus, is growing the community. We'll be launching with Crypto Women Collective what's called the Speaker Index. So like the events sometimes aren't able to access really interesting talent, so we really want to make sure that they're at the forefront. And also what we'll be launching in the coming weeks, which we'll be working with you on, which is super exciting, is the survey. So being able to baseline really the adoption of women, specifically in the Netherlands, and actually sort of really get that data in so that we can also demonstrate the value add that the different programs are having. but also really set the scene as to exactly what the landscape looks like today and the adoption looks like today for women in the space.
Wow. So in a nutshell, growth, innovation, and gathering enough data to make a difference. Because that's what we all do. We're all trying to move forward together. And that's what adoption does. If you adopt it, I adopt it, you keep adopting it,
Yeah.
and you keep scaling it, we all move forward. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you so much for having me and for the platform as well. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you've had a few busy days, but you still made it here, and we appreciate that.
Of course,
So,
anytime.
share this video, like this video, leave a comment. You know who we are. We're Cryptofocus, sitting at a table with Laura, and there's too many different companies, so I'm not going to mention them all. I'm just going to say Laura. And we were live right here from Money 2020.